Let's get started. It's 8:31. I'm calling to order the Environmental Committee meeting of March 1st, spring. Can I have first we need to have a motion to add member Renahan and member Garcia to our committee this morning.
You, I guess.
Well, I guess I have to second, don't I? I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, thank you. Welcome to the committee this morning. Then next I need a motion to allow member Hart and member LaPlante to remote in pursuant to Section 7A of the Open Meetings Act. If a quorum of the members of the public body is physically present as required by Section 2.01, a majority of the public body may allow a member of that body to attend the meeting by other means if the member is prevented from physically attending because of personal illness or disability, employment purposes, or the business of the public body, a family or other emergency. Is there a motion to allow members Hart and LaPlante to participate pursuant to 7A of the Open Meetings Act?
What's the reason?
I'm sorry.
One of those reasons that there's.
Member Hart is employment. Member LaPlante, I don't know.
Employment, I sent you an email.
I'm sorry. Yes, you did. She did. So both because of employment issues.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Welcome. And so moving on, let's have a roll call.
Member Petrowski. Vice Chair Chaplin.
Here.
Member Hart.
Here.
Member LaPlante.
Here.
Member Chavez. Chair Rutledge.
Here. Everybody. Chairwoman's remarks this morning. I may steal a little bit of Kay's thunder. I know she's going to talk about the front page article on the Tribune about road salt. As a gardener, I've always liked to see that slow down, and so you just can't take it out of the environment. So any ways that we can make that less, the need for that much salt would be a good thing for me. Also, there are yet again more red flags about climate change and the temperatures going up. So this committee is becoming more important day to day. So thank you for all of your remarks and contributions to this committee. Next, we have public comment.
On our side.
I think I'm.
That's right, you're on the agenda. Never mind, I was looking. Okay, so no public comment. I ask for a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, February 1st. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion is approved. Staff reports.
Hey, good morning. We just wanted, at the last Finance Committee and the last County Board meeting, there was an item, an agreement with CDM Smith. And we just wanted to bring it to Environmental Committee as informational. It's something that we're supporting facilities management in some of their efforts. I believe member Deacon Garcia was talking about the campus energy assessment. So we are working in 3 different categories. So one is we are looking at the campus's carbon emissions, of what we are contributing to the environment, looking at ways that we can possibly reduce such, and looking at a long-term plan there. This is just strictly phase 1, dipping our toe in the water, just trying to see kind of what's feasible. The second project under this agreement is the EV charging stations. We're looking at, as we're transitioning to electric vehicles, we're looking at what the county campus can handle, what our campus vehicles are. Do we need more power from ComEd? How are we progressing? So again, these are just initial phase 1, starting to look at the campus and where we need to be in the next 10 to 20 years. The last one is we are working with facilities management. They are going to be issuing an RFP for our waste hauling. So we have CDM Smith looking over that RFP, giving us recommendations that would increase quality of service, increase diversion, and also make it, let's see, what was the third one? Quality service and but they're looking in 3 categories just to improve the improve our waste hauling agreement. We had a great meeting with them yesterday, and we'll see how things line out for the next, for the results of the RFP.
And one of the things that I've asked for in that trash hauling contract is to take a look at food scrap composting for our complex here too. So I think that that's important that we start taking those steps to be the leaders in those areas. So hoping to hear more about that. Let's see, next we have presentations. Our first is from eWorks Electronic Services Incorporated, and they're going to talk about the DuPage County Electronic Recycling Program. I'm welcoming Jeff Stagg and Jill Wood to our committee meeting this morning.
Hello, everyone.
Come on over here so they can get you on the camera.
Perfect. Stand or sit or doesn't.
Come on, yeah, I've been here somewhere.
Great.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, thank you everyone for having us. I think this is the first time we've actually stood in front of everybody. And we'd like to thank all of you. We'd like to thank Joy and her team, Kay and Scarce, because without all of you, eWorks would not be what it is in DuPage County right now. We have put together a couple slides for you about what eWorks is all about, what we actually do, and about our mission. And afterwards, if there's any questions or anything that we can answer for you, I'm more along the lines of, I'm the director of Midwest operations for eWorks. Our corporate's actually out of New York. So I can answer any of the actual recycling, the business aspects. And then we have Jill Wood here, who's actually formerly from NSSCO. She can talk more about our students and the overall mission. So eWorks, our facility is located in Oak Grove Village. It's 55,000 square feet. In that facility, we have we do electronic recycling, IT disposition. We also currently are doing textiles, and we're also doing books right now. What you see on this is all of our certifications. The electronic recycling world right now, the providers, it's becoming extremely competitive and extremely small as to who's actually able to maintain that R2 certification. R2 is it's an auditing body that actually comes into our facilities, and what they do is they review every aspect of what we do. So every piece of electronic equipment that we collect, we have to show them to what happens to it and where everything ends up. Even if the items or the commodities don't stay here in the US, we have to show where it goes overseas and what actually happens to it. If we do not show any of that, we lose our R2 certification. And we are now currently, R2 has actually even made it more challenging to where in the past, electronic recyclers could get that symbol if they just had one type of recycling like event, where let's say they just took monitors, and then they would just show that, hey, we're just taking apart monitors. Well, R2 now insists, in order to have that symbol, you have to show a process for everything that you take. So no longer can a recycler just show that symbol and people would think, oh, they're all good. No, if you do see that symbol now going in the future, that means everything that is accepted is now that recycler is being extremely transparent as to what they actually do with everything that they collect. Next slide, please. You're going to hear a lot in our industry about life cycle services. Outside of residential collections, we deal with a lot of Fortune 100 companies nationally, such as Comcast and Goldman Sachs. Here locally, we deal with Walgreens and Northrop Grumman. And this whole move now, and the terminology we're moving is life cycle. And what life cycle basically is when a manufacturer or a large corporation were to install new technology, they're already thinking about what happens to that technology when we no longer are in need of it. I know it's kind of small up there to see, but eWorks does not, we do not survive alone on residential electronics. We also deal with business, corporate, municipalities. We have multiple counties. We also do product returns. So one of our large clients is Office Depot. So if you buy something and you take it back to the store and it doesn't work, it ends up into a facility like ours. We have to make sure that we are broad and we're not just staying in one sector. It's a very interesting field because when one sector is doing well, the other isn't. So right now, with inflation, we're seeing the residential side slowly going down, but we're seeing the ITAD asset world going up. And basically what that is large corporations have learned now that people can work from home, so they don't need as much office space. So we're getting a lot of the IT computers and screens that came out of those office spaces. Next slide, please. We have, there we go. Our business, there's the physical aspect of it, of what we actually collect and how we actually process it. But the most important part, and most of our partners, it's all about the data and the security. So we have our own systems, which have portal access to our clients. So any material that comes into our facility is tracked, and it's tracked from a semi-load down to a pellet, down to the individual units. And we have to perform all of this in order to keep all of our certifications. So at any given time, if somebody were to ask us, where did that material go, we can then go back into our system and show them what actually happened to it. Was it reused? Was it, were certain aspects of it reused, or was the whole unit recycled? Bottom part of the screen over there is, then there's the liability of data. So any material that comes in our facility, tablets, phones, computers, laptops, anything that would have any data onto it, we have to handle in a very secure way. So even when a resident were to drop off a computer at one of our drop-off sites or at one of our e-drives, it goes into a quarantined area where then we assess that unit. We see, first of all, is there any reuse to it, or is it going to go straight recycle? If there is reuse to it, we then do what's called data erasure. And what that does is it wipes the hard drives, so that unit then can be reinstalled with software and then be reused again. After this meeting today, I'm actually walking around DuPage, the homeless PAD, I believe is their name. And we're working with them right now to possibly give them some of our refurbished laptops that are coming in through DuPage. If the item then is not reusable, or we do not erase the hard drives, then we remove the hard drives, and we actually have hard drive shredders on site, which actually shreds it. Next slide, please. Here you'll see our locations and some data. We've been providing services for DuPage County since 2016. We have grown from 1 or 2 e-drives or 1 site to all of the different locations that you see on the bottom. All of those towns and villages, we either have a drop-off or we actually do Saturday e-drives. Currently, since 2016, over 7 million pounds of electronics have come to us from DuPage County that we have kept out of the landfills. And then you can see we also have a partnership with textiles, and we've recently gotten into books. The reason why we've expanded out of electronics is we are paid by our manufacturer by pounds. So when we collect at our e-drives or at our drop-off sites, whatever that weight is what we submit to our sponsored manufacturer, and then they pay us. Well, as technology keeps getting smaller, devices are getting smaller, there's less weight. So we had to add more streams just to make sure that we still have the same amount of turnout, and we can fill our semis and our trucks at our drop-off sites and at our e-drives. Next slide, please. The mission, and the mission is all about jobs. eWorks is actually owned, we're a foundation of a organization out of New York, and they're called the AHRC. They're a $300 million non-for-profit, and they deal with people with disabilities. Here in Illinois, you'll see the slide that's be coming up, but we are partnered with many adult agencies, many school districts. But what eWorks provides is actual Jobs that most individuals would have difficulty holding in other environments. Our environment is suited to where a person with disabilities feels comfortable and always has support. Next slide, please. The goal within our mission with all of our school districts, our job coach and the DRS office is individuals will come into our facilities with a school teacher or a social worker, and there's one-on-one education, they learn how to dismantle, become auditors, depending on where their level and where their skill level is. They are then fit into a certain position within eWorks, and then that school teacher or that DRS social worker works with that person. And the goal then is for that person to be able to sustain themselves and come every day and to do that job. eWorks though is designed where we constantly have school teachers and individuals that help train people with disabilities there on a daily basis. So if anything were ever to arise, we have the support right there. Next slide, please. We do provide full-time jobs and part-time jobs with full benefits, full vacation pay, everything that you would see in any kind of environment. And our job skills are very vast. Unfortunately, a lot of businesses and corporations, people with disabilities, they'll say that they hire the individual, but it's usually a very high functioning individual. And usually that person maybe come in once or twice a week to sweep the floor. At eWorks, we do not. We have individuals that the job may be as entry level as they take the battery out of a remote. All the way up to we have individuals that have college degrees, but might be on the spectrum, and they're refurbishing laptops on a daily basis. So eWorks doesn't just look for one area of individuals. We have multiple different job functions. Next slide, please. Here's some of our partners in DuPage. Jill can answer questions on this if there are, but those school districts there right now do participate. They either come to our facility or eWorks goes to their facility. We're very big with Elmhurst College and Turning Point Foundation in Naperville. If a school district or if an organization can't make it out to Elk Grove Village, eWorks goes to them. So we will take them. Electronics and those photographs that you see up there are actually what they call little mini eWorks rooms in actual high schools. So what they do there is they start off the students to see if they can, fulfill maybe a job within eWorks, and if they can get through that, then then they get on a bus and they come to eWorks. Not all of the people that come into eWorks are going to be hired, but what it does is it gives the school districts an opportunity to use our facility and what we do to, if the person may never be able to get a job, it gives them the ability to show them and train them just everyday life things, how to interact with people, how to get on a bus, someplace to go outside of the school. Next slide, please.
That's it.
Oh, that's it.
I have a question for you,
Sure.
actually.
Mhm.
You showed your certifications. My husband worked for ISO certifiers for about 15 years.
Oh.
I'm well aware of 14,001, but what is 45,001?
What they did is they upped it to where prior to you had to have a basic a process for every aspect that we had coming through, and it was very kind of overall and very generic. Our industry was rocked by a company called Closed Loop a couple of years ago, and what happened is in Ohio, they were going to open up a smelter to take all the CRT televisions. And the group that was behind it started collecting all these TVs across the US and filling up warehouses. They had an overall process that the certification, said, okay, yes, that they were R2 and ISO compliant. What happened was it was a very broad process. While the company goes under, a lot of lawsuits, a lot of environmental committees in other states then sued them. There's a whole history that was behind
So
it.
that's relatively a new certification.
So what it is it just tightens everything up. It's no longer broad where you can just say, hey, this is what we do, show a photograph or whatever. We have to have a detailed report, including it used to just be one tier vendors that you use. So like if we take apart a computer and we're going to send the metal to a certain metal recycler that's going to melt it and make more metal, that isn't enough anymore. If that recycler that we use if they ship to another vendor, and if that vendor ships to another vendor, we have to show every single tier as to where that item actually ends up. Before that, it was a little bit looser, where all you had to show was your first one.
Well, I don't know about your other certifications, but both of these they lift the tent on your company and look at every process. So I commend you because I know how hard at least these two are, and I'm sure the others are as rigorous. So, good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, quick
Paul?
question. First of all, thank you for the work you do. I mean, but this is a great linchpin in terms of like really getting, stuff out of garbage and getting it reworking to where it needs to be. And also your inclusivity, helping people who are not able to get full-time jobs all the time. So that's just, both of those are fantastic things. The question I had for you is your textiles. Now, we have tons of clothes we need to get rid of, but where do those end up?
So we have 4 different sorts. And first of all, our partner for textiles is called Rewearable, and they're also out of New York. The story behind it basically is the founders of eWork that came out of the AHRC. The director of the AHRC actually retires. And there's another organization called ACLD. Now the organizations in New York for people with disabilities are a lot larger than here in Illinois. We have a partnership with Misericordia. These organizations are about 4 or 5 times larger. Okay, so they get a lot more funding in New York. So anyways, the founder of eWorks that came out of New York, and now we're spreading, he left, he retires. This other organization says that they were kind of suffering financially. So he wanted to bring a similar model into them, but he didn't want to compete with eWorks with the electronics. So then they started textiles. One of the individuals on their boards, she is the number 2 at NBC. So NBC helped kick off Rewearables 8 or 9 years ago. And then it grew out there. And then since we had locations here, we offered it up. And so right now, the textiles are coming to our facility and they're being sorted into 4 different piles. One of it's retail, which is items that kind of you can go to a store and rebuy. Those are actually going to thrift shops, and then the thrift shops are actually owned by the adults organization, and it creates jobs for people with disabilities. Then the second sort is what's called cream non-cream. Those are items where the item can still be worn, but you can tell it has been worn. Those are actually baled, and those are actually sold off to lower income areas. Some of it here in this country, but a lot of it actually goes to South America. And but it gets reused. If you ever like seen the commercials of like, they'll show a small poorish area of the world, and you'll see people walking around with a sports team, but it's a sports team that lost. Well, that's because it came from us. So the item's still good, but it still has use.
Absolutely.
Then when we have what it's called low grade, and what low grade is it's items that you don't want to wear again. And what we'll do is we'll either make rags out of those, which then gets sold to Ace Hardware, and we're working with Home Depot right now for reuse, or it goes, a lot of it actually goes overseas. Bulgaria is a big country for it, but they actually grind it up and then they will make either carpeting out of it or insulation, so it has a use on that. We're working with Ford Industries right now because we have a couple big name brands that we're in current contracts with. They want us to take their material, recycle it, and then Ford wants to use it to put it in their seats. So we're hoping that
Jeff, I'm
that,
gonna ask you to wrap it
Oh,
up. We
sure.
have one more presentation this
Okay.
morning. So if any of you have any questions, please direct them to Jeff or through Joy. She'll be able to get you. Thank you so much for coming
great.
this morning and
Thank you for
appreciate
having
your contributions this morning. Next on our list is an update from Scarce for DuPage County projects. Welcome, Kay.
Good morning, everybody. So we are so busy, I didn't get a chance to make the PowerPoint. So I noticed last time I was here that it's hard to get dates down. So these are all of the current, we're waiting a few more towns of recycling events that are coming up that we're coordinating around the county, helping with publicity or handouts or whatever's going to happen. So I have those for you, and I'm really, really excited. Clarendon Hills, this is their second event, and it's the first one of the spring. And they have done a phenomenal job. These are parents at Walker School. They're funding their own paper shredding for the residents. It's 2 pages, you guys, to tell you what they really want. So I want to pass it around, not because it's paper, but because they're just doing an incredible, incredible job. And the Hinsdale is doing one. 3 churches have joined together in Hinsdale, and they're doing one April 9th. And Aaron's been out there to check out their parking lot and help kind of plan routes and so forth. There's a lot of work to get one of these events off the ground. But that Clarendon Hills sheet is just, I think, phenomenal with all the information that they gave for people. And since it's the first one, I thought you might want to see what they have done. It's their second event, but the first one of the spring. But Hinsdale, the 3 churches, we're very excited about that. So I wanted to pass that around, and you guys can pass it back, but it's kind of nice to know what's going on. Our 2 favorite events of February, Sandburg School in Wheaton, virtual kind of program. We did 3 4th grade classes at the same time. So when you're looking at the screen, there are 3 4th grade classes and then our class. So it was a lot. And then the kids had, some of the kids had some prepared questions, and then a lot of the kids had questions afterwards. So it was really a technology wonder to be able to talk to 3 classes at one time, answer questions from all the different classes. And the kids they're very into the technology. So they're actually very, very engaged. It was kind of a fun kind of program. And then the second really fun program, Naperville North, their National Honor Society kids have been very interested in the reuse part of what we're doing. So they came for a tour on President's Day, and they thought they'd be there for an hour. At 3 hours, I said, I can't talk to you guys anymore. I mean, leak detection tablets, and got on the bike, and I mean, you name it, they were trying it out. It was a lot of fun. So now they want to bring a lot more students from Naperville North, and they want to kind of lead the tour and go in the classroom and do all the exhibits. So that was a lot of fun. So I gave a list of events, and then I don't know how many of you know, but we do 2 newsletters. One is called Ripples for Teachers, and it's online, of course. And then we have one called the Green Bulletin. Because there are so many events coming up, we are going to do just one special newsletter of upcoming events for the spring with Drug Take Back Day. There are just so many events. We're waiting. I send Joy and Austin the flyers that we get from different communities, you know, as we get them, so they can put them on the website. But there's going to be so much this spring. I think people are anxious to be out and about, and a lot of things are happening. And then, as Sheila said, you guys probably don't know this, but at least 15 years ago, we came to the county talking about beet juice and talking about road salt and cyanide. And so the Tribune had this huge front page article Monday, yes, on road salt and alternatives and the damage and the centuries this is causing problems. But not one part of this article talks about the cyanide. So we all know fluoride's a problem. The cyanide kills on contact. And it's not mentioned in any of this huge article. So it's drawn a lot of questions. We got emails, we got phone calls. What should we be buying? Where can we buy beet juice? Those kinds of things. And yet, when you read this article, not one part of it. And I was lucky enough at that time to have a chemical engineer on our team who has 21 American patents, and I forget how many international patents. So when she and I were doing the research on road salt and beet juice and stuff, Chris was like, that blue color. And I said, what is that blue color? Because I've been trying to find out. So she was able to find out it's cyanide. and it's 165 parts per million, which is huge, which is why now it's on the toxic waterway list of US EPA. We're able to get it listed there. And this whole article is really important, but it doesn't even talk about the cyanide. So that is just kind of amazing. And then finally, if you haven't been to Scarce yet, we would love for you to come for a tour.
You should go.
There is a lot of good stuff going on, and I think it's credit to our towns, more and more towns taking on these recycling events. We're trying really hard to get more documented weights and numbers of things. That would help everybody, but it's really hard when everybody's a volunteer. You know, you give them a list and say, tell us how many pairs of eyeglasses, or, you know, whatever it is. And they're busy and they're having a fun day, so it's kind of hard to get those weights, but we're trying really hard this year to get more of the weights. But thanks for your time, you guys.
Okay, thank you so much for all that you do. Next, do we have any old business?
A quick question.
Absolutely, Ashley, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So you said you had folks asking you where you can get like beet juice and things. Where is that? Is that an option?
Yeah, you could, it's kind of a beet juice mix with the salt. It's not just total beet juice,
Okay.
but you can buy it online, and Home Depot has some.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Because I've been looking for,
okay.
like, you know, we always try to get at least pet safe, but
Yeah.
A, you can't get it anywhere. So we haven't been using salts, but also I, you know, would like something that doesn't kill
I
my
think one of
plants.
the things that the article would be great to say if they would do, and we did it in our white paper that we wrote years ago, was road salt breaks down your concrete curbs,
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then the steel grates for the store grates. Salt is
Rust.
very corrosive, right? And rust on your cars. So it's actually incredibly, not counting the environmental impact, it's incredibly expensive to taxpayers and to communities to constantly replacing. Blacktop breaks down from salt. So the beet juice it's not just better for the environment. And I'm not saying beet juice is everything. There's going to be better choices out there, but the impact is bigger than just not bigger. It's as important as the water, is the wear and tear on the roads and cars, and the constant then repair, and then your cars, rusty cars, then that's a huge thing that has to be replaced. So there's a lot of different environmental impacts. So it's something really important. And we
No
had
cyanide.
yeah, cyanide. And we had 13 emails just after that article. So that shows people are reading the paper and they want to do the right thing.
thanks again, Kate. Thank you, Ashley. Any other questions? Okay, next we have any old business? Seeing none, hearing none. Any new business? Not seeing there either. Without objection, we're adjourned.